Okay, now there's lots of ways to make a little bit of haze in the background. I'm going to start by creating a gradient, a circle gradient. And the reason I'm doing that is because I really just want the edges of that to show up here. The girls that I put across here are pretty much going to cover that, plus I'm going to have a little bit of smoke on top of it anyway. So what I'm going to do is just above the background box, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to my G tool for gradient, and I'm going to select the circle gradient here, the radial gradient. I'm going to make my color, my foreground color, I'm going to make it a bit of a gray, and it's going to be probably something like that, because I'm going to probably lighten it up. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to pull it down, and let's see what we get. I need it a little bit bigger than that, so I'm going to try again. Pull it down. I could always use a free transform or something. So now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pull it down like right in here, and then I'm going to lower the opacity of it to be something like this. And you have, what that does is that has created that haze back behind. And I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit. See, I'm moving it around here, and I'm going to move it down like right in here. Now remember, the girls are going to be across the bottom of this spotlight. If I look at this over here, their heads are just barely inside the spotlight. So I'm probably going to have something like that. If I don't, then I can always move this around, resize it and everything. But right now, in fact, I want it a little bit less. Bring it down some more. And it's kind of overwhelmed by those lights. But in the area that the lights aren't affecting, you can see that I have pretty good little gradient in there with a pretty good. I'm going to bring it back up again. Yeah, something like that. But we'll play around with that to get exactly what we're looking for. Now, one thing I've noticed up here too is these lights. If you look over here at theirs, again, don't have to be like them, but something like that. These lights are much smaller than the ones that I'm using. So I could come in here and make these things much, much smaller. So I think I'm going to do that just to see what they look like. So if we come into top words, and I go down here to these two lights, I can go to the upper right, and I can make that much smaller just by grabbing this and going in like this, and then pulling it down like this, and it becomes a much smaller light. And maybe that's more like what we're looking for. And if I take this one upper left and do the same thing, I'm just making it much smaller. Even I could even bring it in here like this, and it's kind of overpowering the into the here. So I may play around with that and move it somewhere else. But right now we're going to leave it right there, and it's much smaller. And then of course this last one, the one that I really don't like as much, but we're going to see how it turns out, and I can make that much smaller as well. And you can see that it's kind of blocked off here, so it needs to be feathered right there a lot more. And I can push this one over here a little bit more, like right in there between the S and the P. And so I'm going to come in here on that one, and I'm going to try to feather it a little bit more on the edges here. So I'm going to do a gradient again, and this time I'm going to use a linear gradient, and we're going to come in here and do a little bit more feathering like that, maybe something to kind of give it a little bit less intensity. I'm going to come in here and make it even less intense. And what I could do as well, whoops, didn't want that. Here we go. what I could do is also come in here and go at about 20% and try to gradate this down where it's more powerful up here than it is down here, and that didn't work real well. Let's try again, like more like right here, and there we go. That looks a little bit more like it, and I may even take it excuse me, back to, let's say, about 80% again, and get some more of this on the edges here like that. And something like that. And I could do the same with these others to make them more intense, because it's going to be more intense here than it is out on the edges. So we'll take the upper right, and I'll do the same thing at 20%, and I'll come in here like this, and it becomes more like it should be probably. And then I could take that one and bring the opacity up to make it stronger, and then maybe kind of even do it again. There we go. And then I can do this other one the same way. And there we go. So it's a lot more intense where the light source is than anywhere else. So we have a bit of a haze in here, and you can always take this haze, come back up here. Let's see, where did I put that? It has to be down here. So here's the gradient, and that's a gradient on the spotlight. I would have put that right here. There we go. And we're going to call this background. Oops, if I can spell. Actually, I can spell, I just can't type very well. So background gradient haze. So what I can do with that, so I was going to say, is I could come in here too, and I could squish it a little bit to kind of get it where I want it. But I kind of like it right there. So we have the gradient here. We're going to put the people in here, and the next thing would be smoke. So we will get to the smoke next. Let me close this right quick, save it, and that's it.